Let me also bring in Mr. Tilak Devasher, author and former member of the National Security Advisory Board, into the conversation. Mr. Devasher, many thanks for joining us this morning on CNBC TV18 to take stock of where we find ourselves in this ladder of escalation. And clearly what we've seen yesterday from Pakistan with the attempted use of the Fateh missile is several rungs up, I would imagine, in the escalation ladder. Mr. Devasher, from your vantage point, is this now snowballing into something much, much larger?
Thank you. Certainly, I think Pakistan has gone up a couple of rungs in the escalation ladder. One, trying to target Delhi, the national capital. Second, I think this morning the Pakistan Prime Minister has called for a meeting of the National Command Authority. The National Command Authority is the apex body in Pakistan that looks at nuclear issues and takes decisions on the nuclear issue. It could well be just a feint, just a psychological, trying to scare everybody. But it needs to be factored in so that they are not coming down, they're not scaling back or not trying to de-escalate, but in fact they are trying to escalate. In addition, they have targeted civilians. Civilian targets I've seen on your screen, images of Jammu houses and other places being attacked. They have targeted your military bases. So now this is moving gradually into a no-holds-barred confrontation. Yeah. And I think India has also responded very strongly, and by targeting the Rawalpindi air base and a couple of other bases. And I think we need to be, I think today and tomorrow are going to be very critical days. Whether this dials down, whether people sort of see sense, Pakistan sees sense and comes down the escalatory ladder, or does it put it up even a notch higher? I also feel that by calling a meeting of the National Command Authority, Pakistan is trying to draw attention of the international community so that they somehow intervene and de-escalate the situation, which Pakistan can't do, perhaps is not able to do on its own, because it knows it's on the back foot. The whole thing was started off by those terrible killings in Pahalgam.
Yes.
Which the international community has come out very strongly against, and Pakistan finds itself isolated. So they are now looking for an off-ramp and hope that the US, even China, Saudi Arabia, or the UAE, or somebody else intervenes and tells them to dial down. So they're looking for this off-ramp, and I think it also shows a lot of desperation in the way they have gone about it on the last two nights.
Yes, and I do want to highlight what Mr. Devasher was referencing there. The Pakistan Prime Minister has called a meeting of the body that oversees nuclear arsenal, says the Pakistan military establishment. This is being reported by Reuters. It's essentially saying that Shehbaz Sharif has called a meeting of the National Command Authority on Saturday, and the authority is the top body of the civilian and military officials that take security decisions, including those related to the country's nuclear arsenal. But as you were pointing out, Mr. Devasher, this could very well just be psyops, or it could also be, as you were pointing out, an attempt to get the world to focus much more squarely on what is happening here in the region. But specifically, the US, there is a readout of Secretary Marco Rubio's conversation with the Pakistan Prime Minister. And it's interesting there, while there is, of course, a call for dialogue, it's a call for de-escalation. Marco Rubio's readout says very clearly that he told the Pakistan Prime Minister that Pakistan should not support any terror groups any further. So, how do you see the US intervening in this matter? The Saudis, we have the Saudi Minister of State here in India, also has met with Pakistan officials. How do you believe the Saudis are likely to play this?
Yes, so I'm sure Saudis, the Iranian foreign minister had visited Pakistan a couple of days ago, then he came to India. The Saudis have met both sides, and as you mentioned, even the US. Pakistan's problem is that the terror infrastructure, which they have built over the last 3 decades, and no less than the defense minister of Pakistan admitted on a television interview that they have been doing this for the last 30 years. They will find it very difficult to dismantle this architecture. Because if they do, then you have so many trained jihadis who will be out on the streets with nothing to do and who are incapable of doing a job. What do they do? So they've been trained to do jihad in Afghanistan and in India. Maybe they'll start doing jihad in Pakistan itself. So Pakistan is really riding a tiger, that as far as terrorism is concerned. But if they don't rupture this terror architecture, they will continue to be on the receiving end from countries that are affected by terrorism. I mean, India has made it very clear, both after Uri and after Pulwama, that there cannot be any terror in interstate relations. And we thought that Pakistan had learned its lesson for the last 5 years. But then Pahalgam happened, and it just shows that Pakistan hasn't learned its lesson. So I agree with you, as I mentioned also, that this meeting of the National Command Authority is probably to get international attention to focus on it and to bring the two countries back to a position where they are able to talk. So that is what their intention seems to be. But I think it's going to be a long haul back for Pakistan to walk back and come back to being a normal state.
Yes, it is going to be a long haul. We are, of course, waiting for the briefing by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Defense. But Mr. Devasher, in terms of options that India can exercise at this point in time, and to General Singh's point that we must now act preemptively, that so far India's response has been more retaliatory in nature, what would you say, the options are before India?
No, I think, as we have demonstrated through the last 3 days, our response has been proportionate. It's been responsible. We don't want to go up the escalatory ladder. But at the same time, we are going to defend our territory and hit back where we find that we are being hurt from. But to go in for preemption at this stage, I think would be a little premature. We need to wait and watch and see how the situation develops. Because once you start taking preemptive action, then you are going straight up the escalatory ladder. And Pakistan's doctrine is of first use, nuclear first use. You don't want to go into that situation where even if they want to use tactical nuclear weapons, we don't want that happening at all. So I don't think so we should go in for preemption against military formations or civilian targets. Yes, preemption against terrorist groups, terrorist camps, that's fine. We did that last time also. But as a doctrine of preemption to attack Pakistan right now, I think would be, my personal view, would be a little premature at this stage because we don't want to go up the escalatory ladder so fast.
Absolutely. And in fact, we now have a statement coming in from the Indian Army. Pakistan's blatant escalation with drone strikes and other munitions continues along our western borders. In one such incident today at approximately 5 in the morning, multiple enemy armed drones were spotted flying over Khasa Cant, Amritsar. The hostile drones were instantly engaged and destroyed by our air defense units. Pakistan's blatant attempts to violate India's sovereignty and endanger civilians is unacceptable. The Indian Army will thwart enemy design. So this is the official statement that has now come in from the Indian Army. Mr. Devasher, it's been a pleasure. We will, of course, keep coming back to you, sir, and we would appreciate it if you could make time for our viewers, because we do want rational opinion and rational insights and perspective, more importantly, here on the program that will benefit our viewers in this sensitive situation. But we truly appreciate you joining us here this morning. Tilak Devasher there with us. Parikshit.